welcome. So this is a yoga Pilates fusion, of course. So I'm gonna start today with a blanket down the length of my back. So if you joined me on Monday, I did a slightly different thing and I put it crossways. If you weren't here for that and you want to try that, you could do it that way as well. But this way, I'm just rolling up the blanket so that it's an oval and it's going to go down the length of my spine. So if you're into that idea, you can join me here. Otherwise, just lie down. Or if you prefer, you can sit up for the first part of this and then join me in a reclining position when we get to the next portion of the work. Ugh. So for me, I like the blanket to usually be somewhere around the bottom of my rib cage. Sometimes it's comfortable for it to come all the way down to the top of the sacrum, but most often it's better if it stops before it gets to that part. So I just feel that out. Now the legs can be straight. You can have the feet together like little butterfly wings. You can rest the feet on the floor so that there's a little bit more of a relaxation in the hips. So whatever might be appropriate, given any position that you're lying down in. And then we'll pause for a few moments and just get steady. I mentally sort of let go of the rest of my day and try to concentrate on just being right here in this moment right now. Noticing the sensation of the mat underneath me, noticing the sensation of the air against my skin and the breath, the occasional rustling from small furry people in the same space with me. You won't be shoving somebody out of the way so you can get on your own yoga mat. So we'll just include all the things that are here right now as part of our day. Make space for it. Stay for about 4 more breaths. Just going to change one bit, which is the legs, and then I'm going to take the blanket out from underneath. I'll set that off to the side, make sure I've got plenty of room over my head. So just make sure that your arms can extend without running into anything. And we'll do a little work for our shoulders. So we're going to start in this constructive rest position for the legs. And there's a little bit of kind of an impression left behind where the blanket was for me. So it's already kind of begun, the shoulder opening. And if for you that's not the case, then that's all right too. But if you want to wait a little bit longer before you move, or you want to do some other little movements first, you can do that. But when you're ready, we're going to reach down towards the heels and bring the arms all the way up and over, stretching overhead as you go. And then we'll come all the way back, and again, kind of reaching through the arms. Stretching up and over. And coming back. sometimes I find that I didn't quite give myself enough room, because as I do this, my arms seem to magically get slightly longer, reaching up and over. Now, on the way back, we're gonna stop so that we're about level with the ceiling, and or pointing at the ceiling, and if that's, if you've gone past that point, just come back to here. And then you're gonna grab the upper arm of one side. I'm gonna grab my right upper arm, and my left arm is gonna try to tug this right arm across, and then I'm gonna use all the muscles in my shoulder to draw that shoulder blade back into neutral. So it's a little bit of a fight, but no one's winning. So shoulder blade stays put, and the arm is also being drawn across at the same rate. Two more breaths of that. Come back to reaching up and come all the way back to neutral. Now that I'm here, I'm just noticing if there's any difference between my two shoulders. I'm going to come back up and over, nice and long. See if there's a difference now in the range of motion. One more of those. And again, I'm going to come back to this point where I'm pointing up at the ceiling, grab the opposite arm, draw it across, and then draw the shoulder blade back in. And I'm pulling with the arm across as much as I'm drawing that shoulder blade in, so that it doesn't look like very much, but it feels like a lot is going on. More breaths here. And I'm going to release that arm and finish this move. And I'm going to do two more of those, reaching all the way up and overhead. And again, just trying to notice if there's any difference in the range of motion. Did I do anything that caused any trouble? And this time I'm coming all the way back to the beginning. All right, and then you can release your shoulders. Now, while we're here in this little constructive rest position, the first option is to just place your right leg up on top of the left one and stay put. So you've got one foot resting on the floor, the other leg hanging out on top. Or you can pick this up so that the leg is kind of hovering around the pelvis height. We're going to bring the hands behind the head, so we'll curl up however far your spine curls, and then we're going to come to the side and kind of bring the elbow and the knee toward each other. So either resting the legs, curling up and rotating, or floating, curling up and rotating. So either way. We'll do 3 more sets of that, and try to keep your head resting in your hands quite nicely so that we have to use the abdominals to do the work. So if your leg was floating, you're just going to grab hold of that right leg, stretch the left one out, rest it on the floor, and either way, we're going to spin the right foot in circles. And then circle it the opposite direction. Point and flex. And then I'm going to try to straighten out my legs, see if my hamstrings are willing to let me go all the way straight. And then curl that leg in and try to straighten it out. And curl it in. And try to straighten it out. And one more time like that. Now, curling this leg in, you can either reach down with your hands or you can bring your hands back behind your head. We're gonna float the opposite, that left leg up, and reach out through that left leg, and then we're gonna give ourselves this little extra curl in. Switch which leg is the straight leg, reach through that right leg, curl up, stretch, and curl, stretch, and curl. So we'll just keep going with this single straight leg stretch, one side and then the other. Giving yourself just that little extra squeeze with the abdominals. Two more sets. Now, I'm going to put my right foot on the ground, put my left ankle up on top. Again, you can float the legs or leave them in this resting position. We'll call it that. So we're going to curl up and then twist. And again, I'm trying to make myself really focus that work in the abdominal muscles. My neck will try to help. And I'm trying to press my head back so my abs have to do the work. Two more of those. And even though I can't do a lot of flexion with my spine, I'm not getting a lot of movement. I'm definitely feeling the movement. So I've got hold of my left leg, stretching the right one out, and then spin your left foot in circles. Hopefully you're feeling that as well. And I'm going to spin the opposite direction. And then we're going to point and flex. Right. So then we're going to try to straighten out the leg, and curl it in, and straighten it out, and curl it in. Straighten it out, curl it in. I'm going to do one more of those. Now bringing both knees in toward me, you can curl up and bring your hands behind your head. That's option one. Second option would be to rest your hands somewhere down closer to the hips. We'll straighten the legs straight up, just glue the thighs together, glue the heels together, spread the toes apart, and then we'll lower the legs for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold steady there. 3, 2, 1. Come back. Lower. 3, 2, 1. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Return. Lower. 3, 2, 1. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Return. Make sure you draw your navel back while you're holding. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Return. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Return. 2 more. Lower. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Return. And lower. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Return. So we'll let the legs find their way down. give ourselves a little back rinse. All right, so we're gonna give ourselves a nice big lung stretch. Oh, and then curve over like a little banana and just pause for a moment. Now you can cross the outside leg over the inside leg if you like. I'm just gonna kind of reach down that longer side. We're just releasing any tension maybe from the hip flexor, giving it a little long space to the side of our waist. Take one more big breath here. Oh, and come on back to the center. Notice if there's any difference. It feels a little longer on that side to me, just for the briefest second to check in with it. And then we'll stretch the opposite direction. And again, I'm kind of reaching into that stretch a little without being overly aggressive. Okay, taking one more breath. Coming on back to the center. All right. Now, we're going to come to a seated position. So you could do some roll up to get to the seated position. You can just get to a seated position. Or if you're up for it, you can join me for some rolling like a ball. So I'm going to rock myself up and then rock back and rock up. We'll do a few of these. So I'm going to do two more. Oh, one more. Ooh. Hopefully you guys can hear okay. There are construction people outside my window power washing the front of the building. So this could get even more interesting as we go along. But in any case, we're gonna do what we can. So we're gonna sit in such a way, let me back up a little bit, that the legs are a little bit on the wider side. So for me, usually I go right to the edge or just off the edge of a regular yoga mat width. And then you can bend the knees a little bit. We're gonna sit up really tall. If you need a bigger bend in the knees, you can stick like a blanket or a pillow or something underneath your knees. So we're gonna do the saw, which involves a forward bend and a twist. That can be an interesting combination. So turning to one side and then folding from your hip will reach in the direction. I look backwards towards the hand behind me, so there's no strain in the neck. And then when I come up to the center, I'm gonna lift up tall. Now you can do 3 pulses, 2, 3, which is usually the way this is taught. But if that causes trouble for your hamstrings, just hold it for 3, 2, 1, and return. So turning, 1, 2, 3. Return to the center, get nice and tall, turning, 1, 2, 3. Nice and tall. 1, 2, 3. My count might be throwing you off because, you know, the video is delayed. So just do your own count. We're gonna repeat this 2 more sets. 1, Nice and tall in the center for each one. Right. Now when you finished your 2 sets, we're going to come back to the center here and we'll bring the feet together. So we've got a little butterfly shape. I'm going to kick my sit bones out behind me just a little bit by wobbling side to side. Lift my breastbone. And then fold over my legs to some degree. Now maybe your fold takes you all the way down to the floor. Maybe your fold stays way up high, mine's somewhere in the middle. But notice that moment where the back starts to round versus keeping the spine nice and long. Just find that spot, right where that starts to change. Take 2 more breaths. Coming all the way up. I'm going to bring myself eventually to all 4s after a little shake out. All right. So turning my palms so that my fingers point forward, I'm going to do a few rounds of cat here. Then I'm going to turn my hands just so that they point out to the side and do a couple more rounds. And then this is the trickiest one for me, so I'm going to do one hand at a time. I'm going to turn my palm around, and you have to go to the outside, right? So I'm going to turn my palm around so that my fingers point the opposite direction. I'm going to shake that guy out, put it back, and turn the opposite hand all the way around. And then come back, give that guy a shake. All right. Now, we're going to take the right leg back behind us, take the left arm out in front, stretch between those 2 points. Your wrist and your ankle a little movement if you like. One more breath. And then we'll exhale and curl those 2 in, stretch out. Ooh, exhale and curl in, stretch out. One more time. We're going to curl in. Now, as you stretch out, go ahead and put your hand back down. We're going to bring that leg all the way forward for a lunge. You can use blocks if that's helpful. We're just going to find the lunge that feels like the best one today. So you could reach back for your foot or add a twist. You can get low with your lunge or stay up a little higher. Just choose an appropriate amount of lunginess for you. I'm going to take 2 more breaths. Send the hips back and fold over this front leg. Now, if it doesn't feel like it's enough hamstring stretch, you can send your leg a little further forward or bring your torso a little closer to the thigh. But if it is enough, don't add on. 2 more breaths. All right, I'm going to put both my hands here on this left side so I can pick that right leg all the way up. I'm going to rotate a little bit so that I've got a nice wide base here for a little side plank. Now you could straighten your bottom leg out. You want to make this more challenging. Lift from the torso, keep your shoulders stable. And we'll try to rotate that top leg for 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you don't fall over, go the opposite direction. 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll come back to center. And you might give yourself a couple of little rounds of cat. Just notice how things are different one side to the other. We'll take the left leg back, the right arm out, give it a good stretch. One more nice deep breath there. And then we'll curl in, stretch out, curl in, stretch out, curl in, stretch out. One more time, curling in, stretch out, and then we're gonna bring that leg all the way forward. And again, we're gonna find a lunge here. So you're just looking for one that feels nice. Maybe last time you grabbed a foot or added a twist, and that doesn't feel so good on this side, so you don't do it this time, or maybe you do. Just notice what's the right answer for you. Couple more deep breaths. Okay. Then we're going to send the hips back and fold. A little hamstring stretch. Two more breaths there. So I'm putting both my hands over here on the right. I'm going to take that leg out for my side plank. Hopefully I'm not going to, nope, I'm going to jam up a plant. Hang on. All right, here we go. So circle in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause and go the opposite direction. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift. And then we'll come back to center. Now here we can do some cat shapes, a little child's pose, or you can come to downward dog if that seems like an appropriate option. And then eventually we'll transition so that we're standing up. Take as long as you care to. Your transition. Eventually find ourselves in a mountain pose. We'll just meet up here in the mountain. So feel your mountain pose out. Notice if it's the same on the left side and the right side right now. Does it feel like you kind of want to lean into the toes or into the heels or into the left foot or the right foot? Or is it perfectly balanced? And there's no judgment around that. There's not a right answer. You're just noticing what the inclination is today, or at least right now. And then as we do other poses, things might change. See what happens. So we're going to take a nice big breath, reach the arms overhead, grab that right wrist, give yourself a little stretch over to the left. Now we're going to come into some form of a balancing pose. Whether you choose a dancer, or an eagle or a tree pose. One more breath. And then we'll either release the foot or take it off the leg, whatever variation is appropriate. And we'll step back for a warrior one. The arms are gonna come up. We're gonna bring the elbows back and push forward. Arms up, elbows back, push forward. One more of those. Oh. Now, straightening out your front leg, we're gonna try to, as best we can, kind of turn everything forward, and then we'll see how far into the forward bend it feels okay to go with the hamstrings. Take a few more breaths. Now, bending the front knee, we're going to lean forward. Now I'm going to use a block for my one hand. I could use the other one if I want. We're going to try to lift that left leg up into a standing splits. So the standing leg might need to be bent. You might feel like you can take both hands off the floor, or maybe you feel like, no, I really need to hold on to the floor with at least one, if not both hands. Taking a nice big breath. We're gonna step that leg all the way back and come to downward dog. Now you can just hold downward dog, or you can add in a plank, lowering some sort of a back bend. I'm gonna do a cobra, and then we'll come back to down dog. Take that right leg up. Try to touch your upper right arm with your knee. Stretch the leg back. Upper right arm. Stretch the leg back. Oh, and then we're gonna see how far it'll step forward. I just bring all my weight to that and step the other leg up. Come up halfway. Fold. Come all the way up to standing. And then we'll find that mountain pose. And again, checking in, we may find there's a slight difference between the left side and the right side. Taking a nice big breath, reaching up, grabbing the left wrist, giving a little stretch over to the right. Coming back to the center. And again, just choosing a balancing pose that works for you today, whatever that is. You can make one up or do one you love. Two more breaths. And then you can either let go of or take your foot off, unwrap it, whatever it is. Step yourself into warrior one. Ooh, let the feet press backwards as much as you're pushing forwards through the legs. Bring the arms up, pull the elbows back, push forward. One more of those. And we're gonna square everything forward to the degree possible, given the fact that we are not built to be square. And then we'll see how much hamstring stretch is an appropriate amount of hamstring stretch once again. And maybe there's a little more room this time because it's not the first one we're doing. You can pick up your kneecap and see if that helps. Two more breaths. All right, so we're gonna bend the front knee, lean into it, come up to the standing splits. maybe no hands. Maybe hands. Reach through that right leg. And then we're going to step it all the way back. Come back to down dog. Again, you can hold that steady or add in the rest of the sun salutation. And come back to dog. Taking the left leg up, bringing it maybe to the elbow, maybe just part of the way. Stretching back, bringing it towards the elbow. Stretch it back, and then step it up. Coming up to the top of the mat one way or another. And folding and stretching out. And then come into mountain pose. So, again, just noticing how that's working. All right, we're gonna take a nice big breath. Reach the arms up. Come to a chair pose. It can be a big tall chair or one that you sink down into, bringing your hands to your heart. We're gonna twist to the right. I'm gonna try to hold my hips nice and steady. Just see how far around I can bring my torso. Two more breaths here. Coming back to center. Now we're going to fold forward, put that right hand on the ground, pick the left leg up, and see if we can find a half moon balance. Whee! Taking a nice big breath. And then we're going to try to land this into a warrior two. And then we'll add, once you've landed, some mermaids into that warrior two. Coming back to reverse. And over to side angle. And back to reverse. Oh, and over to side angle. We're really stretching the side of the waist out here. One more time. Coming back to warrior two, we're gonna swing everything around for a wide angle forward bend. And maybe your wide angle forward bend is a little bit sort of, just a little lazy, a little drape over. Maybe you wanna make yours a little more active. It's your pose. I'm going to be really passive for this first one, except for the legs. I'm pressing my feet down into the ground, stretching the mat between them, trying to get strong in the legs, and then letting my upper body be super loose. Up halfway. Now you can add a sun salutation in here, putting your hands on the mat, stepping back into a plank or into dog and then coming to plank, or you can come up to the top of the mat and join me up here where we'll hold a forward bend. So that's up to you. Pick the one you like the best. Now, if you went for the sun salutation, when you get back to your dog, you're going to take some kind of a journey to the top of the mat. A big step, a bunch of little ones, a hop, whatever you want. And then I'm going to release my big toes and come up halfway. And then all the way to standing, give it a big stretch. So finding my way back into my mountain pose. And then come into chair. And again, you can decide how deep that chair should go. We're going to twist to the left. So then I just sort of reestablish all the little relationships there between my hips and my legs and this twist. Two more breaths. And I'm going to come out, fold forward. Now I'm going to keep my left side on the floor, my left hand, left leg, and pick my right leg, right arm up for my half moon balance or my half moon fall over and not quite balance, whichever the case is today. Whee, taking one more breath. And then we're going to turn that into a warrior two, one way or another. When you find your warrior two, add your mermaids in there. Oh, getting some length along your sides. Two more of those. So I'm going to come back to my warrior two and then swing this around. So now I've got a wide angle once again. And with this one, I'm going to turn my toes out just a little bit so that I can kind of come over to the side. Now this starts to give me triangle vibes because one side is much more intense. And then if I come over to this opposite side and kind of lean into there, again, this side now is more intense in the inner thigh and hamstring than this side. So I'm just going to go back and forth twice more. Just kind of emphasizing, and you can bend your knee instead of keeping the legs straight as you like. It'll be more like a squat. I'm going to come back to the center, and this, we're going to come around. Now, you can either do the full vinyasa and wind up back on your belly, or pause with downward dog for a moment. And then we're going to wind up on the belly all together. Now, we'll bend the knees, turn the face so that you're resting on one cheek, and then the arms can either lace together behind your back or rest beside you, whatever your shoulders indicate is the best answer on that. We're going to kick the heels in 3 times, then lift into a locust, bringing the head to the center, rotate to the head to the opposite side, kick the heels in 1, 2, 3. Lift, draw to the center line, and come down. We're going to just keep going. Oh, lift, and down. Lift, and down. Just keep going. 2 more sets. Just lift as much as you can lift. Within reason for your low back. And then we're going to take the right arm up so that we can roll onto the right side. Stacking the hips, stacking the shoulders. If you put your arm up front, it's going to be a ton more support. On the hip, which is generally my favorite, because I can sort of feel the wobbliness. Or, for a bigger challenge, kind of reaching up so that there's nothing helping you to support your torso staying stable except for your abs. So you just choose the right level for you. Again, with the legs, if I bend the bottom leg, that's going to provide more stability. Straight but pushed into the ground Not as quite as much stability, but still more. Floating that leg off the floor, and everything coming from the core for to stabilize. A little more challenging. Okay, a lot more challenging. So choose the one that's right for you. So we're gonna start with the heels together, toes a little separated, and we're gonna take that top leg up and down. Then when you get to about hip height, you're gonna swing that leg forward some amount. It could just be a little bit, and then come up, and then we're gonna swing the leg back. Could be a little bit, could be a lot, based on your space and your hip. So trying to hold steady through the torso as we do these different moves. Coming up the center line in between each forward and back. See if you can hug in through your abdominals as you go back and forth. Trying to hug in so everything stays nice and stable. One more set. Going up the last time there in between, we'll bring the feet together and then bring the feet behind you and lift them. So there's a tendency for the hip to want to follow the line. Keep your hips nice and stable. And there's a little internal rotation here at this hip, which is why we kind of sometimes want to follow it. So we're going to let that be wherever it is. Open the legs, that gives us this little external rotation. Then we're going to extend the leg if we can. If that causes knee pain, just hover. And then we'll come back to start. So we'll just keep going. Get two more. Right, straightening out both legs. You can just take that first one a little over the top. I like to put the foot on the ground so that I have almost more of a pigeon kind of stretch to this outer hip. We're gonna lift the one that's on the bottom, in my case, the right leg, and then using the abdominals, the hip flexors, and the inner thighs, we're gonna pulse that leg up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hovering there, making a circle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go in the opposite direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back to center, lifting that leg. And then we'll bring the leg down. Now, you can straighten out both legs, roll over. Just take the phone with you or whatever you're looking at this on. Or you can swing all the way around, which is what I'm gonna do, because the camera's in a steady position. All right, so now I'm laying on my left side. Got everything all stabilized. This top leg is gonna come up, and then the leg's gonna go forward, up, and back. So once you're ready, just follow along. Try to hold nice and steady. Two more sets. All right, one more up and down. And then I'm gonna bring my feet around, lift. Again, make sure that my hip is not falling forward. And then we can do these little clams. 4 more. Last one. So you might have another one to do, but once you're ready, straighten the legs back out, and then we're going to bring that top leg over. Again, I just want to make sure my hip is nice and secure. I'm not leaning forward or back. And I'm going to lift this bottom leg and try to pulse it up using the abs and everything for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Circling that leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go in the opposite direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Oh. Coming back to center. Now we're gonna roll onto our back. I'm gonna switch back over here to this other direction. And we're gonna do some bridges. So your bridge pose can have the little lifted leg at the top, or you can follow along. I'm gonna do the up and down version of the bridge. So it's called Dvipadapitham, which sounds super impressive, but it's really just going up and coming back down as best you can, one vertebrae at a time. So you can, once you get to the top, extend your leg, lower it, bring it back, put your foot back down, and then roll back down if you like, or just do the up and down with both feet on the floor. So one vertebrae at a time. I'm gonna lift, get nice and steady. Again, you could add that one little kick here, and then I'm gonna roll myself down as best I can, one vertebrae at a time. And I'm just gonna keep on going. So now if you were doing the little kicks, when you come up the next time, you'll switch legs. So you'll do 3 on each side. I've got one more to go for myself. You might have 1 or 2 more to go, depending on your luxuriating at the top. So when you get to the bottom, we can give ourselves a little rinse with the legs. And then you're gonna pick a side, and we'll do a little spinal twist over to that side. So I'm going to bring my legs over to the right to start with. I'll wrap them around each other once I get there. And then extend my left arm out. It might be a little bit off your screen, but hopefully not too much. Oh. I'm just letting myself sink into this little twist. come on back to the center. And I'm gonna give myself another little moment in between here, and then I'm gonna do a little twist going the other way. Now, from here, I'm gonna just go right into a final relaxation. Some of you may head off to work at this point. So if that's you, after you're done with your twist, have a great rest of your day. Namaste, everyone. You're gonna hang out with me for Shavasana, which is luxurious as far as I'm concerned. It might be the best part. Then hang around. We'll go right into that at the end of this twist. So I'm just going to come on back to the middle. It's important to get comfortable. So for me, putting a blanket right up against the bottom of my thigh there helps my hip flexors relax so my low back doesn't get cranky. So if that is something that would work for you too, do that. Pillows work great in addition to a blanket. Just let your body get soft and relaxed. take a moment just to notice that your breath. Nice big breath and stretch into it. And then you can add some movement. And when you're ready, oh goodness, come to a seated position. Maybe you feel the need to rock yourself up one more time. Or maybe just roll it up. Thank you for joining me for some yoga Pilates fusion, everybody. Take a nice big breath and a big sigh. Namaste. Welcome to the rest of your day.